You hear me talking about maintaining premarital chastity and post-nuptial purity over and over again as a biblical principle. But do you know that nations have risen and fallen based on that fact? That today I'm going to unpack a truth that what you decide about purity, monogamy, and chastity will guide the course of our nation. I want to share one of our impact stories. An impact story, if you don't know, is a story of transformation, whether you have made a decisive act to grow or someone around you has witnessed your moving towards Jesus as you grow into a man of God. This is an impact story we actually received from a wife. And she says this. She says, I've been married 25 years. The last 2 years have been very difficult in our marriage. I looked at hundreds of videos trying to show my husband what he is doing and how it affects me, but I could never get him to understand with all the videos I tried to show him. Then I came upon your videos. I've shown him several of them. The shocking part, which I absolutely love, it is amazing. He is actually listening to the videos and changing his thinking, which I'm so grateful for because I can now see the light at the end of the tunnel instead of divorce. Thank you so much for putting yourself out there and sharing these videos. They help people so much. I feel like I got my husband back. In 1934, J.D. Unman had a landmark anthropological study of 86 civilizations spanning 5,000 years, proposing a strong correlation between sexual restraint or discipline and cultural achievement. Isn't this interesting? Unwin argued that societies requiring strict monogamy and prenuptial chastity build a higher social energy, while conversely, adopting sexual freedom leads to civilization collapse within 3 generations. So here are the findings and actually he did this study at 1934. He died 2 years later. Here's what he found from this study, that there is a sexual cultural link. Unwin hypothesized that sexual frustration, when directed into social, intellectual, and artistic pursuits, resulted in a high cultural dynamism or energy. Isn't that interesting? We're going to put our sexual energy somewhere, but if we have discipline, restraint, and live according to God's word, right, and save ourselves for marriage, and within the marriage covenant that we maintain a monogamous relationship with our bride, that other energy will be focused in directions that will enhance society. Isn't that really interesting? That is so interesting to me. He also discovered the 3-generation rule. When a society abandons absolute monogamy and prenuptial chastity, its energy dissipates, leading to a decline in cultural complexity and ultimate collapse within 3 generations. I'm going to go back to this ridiculous Netflix documentary called Manosphere, where they interviewed, I don't know, it was 5 or 6 children in adult bodies. These guys are pathetic, but they've got a huge social media following, so they're, quote, influencers. Well, they're influencing our culture to its demise. But it was really interesting that these men, 2 of these men brought up this phrase, one-sided monogamy, where they can cheat all they want, but their girlfriends have to be pure. I've just got nothing to say. It's a joke. These guys are embarrassing. They are an embarrassment to the masculine gender. They are not men. They are males in adult bodies. I hope one of them listens to this. I will not name them by name. They are not worth mentioning, except that they are part of the problem because they are males, and you, man, are a part of the solution. The third thing that Unwin realized was a civilizational cycle. Listen to this. Historically, societies that flourished, in other words, flourishing he defined as developing advanced arts, sciences, and social organization. These societies were those with the most rigorous sexual regulations. Now, he also talked about this thing called absolute monogamy. Now, let me tell you this. Absolute monogamy is an oxymoron. You do not need to put the word absolute in there. The phrase absolute monogamy actually is a redundant phrase. In other words, monogamy is absolute. You don't have to put the word absolute in front of it. He was an onion. Unwin argued that only the most rigorous form of sexual restriction, in other words, lifelong heterosexual monogamy, which actually is the biblical model, only that model allows a society to reach the highest level of social energy. Isn't that interesting? So when we look at our culture, we want to see a growing culture. It's not politics that's going to grow the culture. It's a culture of true, unapologetic, bold, and obedient Jesus followers who are living according to God's word, who are living according to guardrails, and who are loving their wives and being true and having restraint outside of marriage. It's not these cohabitating children who want to test drive their girlfriend to see if she's going to fit the bill. She will not, because you will not. Here's some support. Modern supporters, including guys like Dr. Kirk Dirtston, argue that Unwin's findings hold true and that Western culture is currently following the downward decline pattern predicted in his work. And if we watch America, we see this downward decline right now. Thankfully, we're in the middle of a revival among our young Gen Z men and women, and hopefully they will turn the culture around, because right now we're heading down to, within a generation or two, we will probably be speaking a different language. So here are some criticisms against his survey. Many modern anthropologists and historians view his analysis to be flawed, noting that it is oversimplified. So I think that's interesting, and I do think that on some level it's true. But isn't the Bible oversimplified? Doesn't the Bible just tell us love Jesus, love people, and live in sexual purity? Because the relationship between Jesus and the church is perfectly illustrated in the relationship with the husband and the wife. This is a covenant relationship. And if we honor the covenant relationship as ordained by God in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, that covenant will flow into our society and impact our entire culture. So guys, I hope you're listening to this, and I don't think this matters what you believe. I think if you look at this survey and you take it at face value, I encourage you to go do the research. You will walk away understanding the Bible is true, marriage is important, sexual chastity before marriage is vital, and sexual purity after marriage with a one-woman relationship is vital to our culture's success. I hope you understand that. This has rocked my world. I had to share it with you. Hey, please copy a link of this episode, send it off to one of your buddies, or send it off to somebody who opposes this view of prenuptial chastity and postnuptial monogamy, and see what happens. Also want to challenge you, if you are not a subscriber, if you're not following this podcast regularly, please do that. That'll help us impact many lives for Jesus Christ. Until next time, feel the wet sound on the arena floor, hear the deafening roar of the crowd, taste the sweetness of victory, smell the stench of battle, get in the game, get dirty, grind it out, live in prenuptial chastity and postnuptial monogamy, so that you will be a man.